Hey everyone, here we go. So I just wanted to come to you this morning and get off a little bit of the beaten track that I've been talking about. I've been talking a lot about bugs and I've been talking a lot about parasites in the last videos. And because tomorrow's Thanksgiving, I thought, hey, why don't we cover something that a lot of people struggle with the holiday season? You're on a good diet. Maybe you're doing keto. Maybe you're doing low carb. Maybe you're on a good diet because you have blood sugar issues. Maybe it's more of a medical reason that you're trying to stick with a really good diet. For a lot of my clients, they get off track and then, January 1st rolls around and it's a new year. And now we're trying to play catch up and we're trying to get back on track. So I'd like to give you some tips today. Most of this is in your hands, things that you can do, things that you can figure out for yourself. So some of the first things I want to talk about is cheating. We know we're going to cheat. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, you're going to have some cheats, you're going to have some issues. And so we want to kind of plan them. And this is what I've kind of figured out. There's all sorts of things we can do. So honestly, when you're trying to fix your gut, you've got leaky gut, you're coming back from gut issues, you've been on antibiotics, you're trying to take probiotics, you're doing all these things. And now here you are going to a holiday season that has sugar everywhere, right? So some people struggle with even having bowel movements, when they eat a lot of carbs and eat a lot of things that are just going to be right in your face. So some of the things I wanted to cover today, better cheats. So here's the big deal. Just because you're going to, know you're going to overeat, you don't have to completely go overboard and go right into the whole thing and say, forget it, I'll fix it all later. You can do some things. You can do all sorts of tricks to help yourself get through this time and be able to deal with it and not come out so scathed really at the end, right? Candida albicans sufferers, people that have a lot of yeast, this is, it feeds on sugar, it feeds on high starch foods. So it's a big deal. So I always say to people, step one over these types of times, if you're on vacation is another one, not just holidays, right? Decide when and how you're going to cheat, whether it's going to be a slice of the famous pie that your aunt has, or a glass of eggnog, whatever it's going to be, or even baking. Baking is always a problem. Anytime you're thinking about baking, you're using a flour product. Even if you're using a gluten-free, most of this is high starch, high glucose types of foods that are happening. So I always tell people, maybe have a slice, right? If you make yourself a whole pie and no one else is in your house that's going to eat it, there's going to be a problem there, right? You can sort of see that you're going to end up eating it. The big deal is mentally preparing yourself to not hit yourself with guilt, because what happens with a lot of my clients is they do things and then they're like, I just felt so guilty for days. And so this thing continues because of the mental aspects of the guilt associated with it, right? And sometimes it's not just guilt. Sometimes it's when you get a bunch of carbs, you kind of feel brain foggy. And for some people who are highly sensitive in their gut, they might feel depressed after eating a bunch of sugar, right? You're kind of feeling down. You may be having some alcohol. You're going to feel some downness. It's not your normal way of eating. So it's not just guilt. There's a lot of issues that come into play. Okay, so step two, make the decision on how you're going to cheat and stick with that. And then figure out ways to avoid. There are some things we can kind of plan. If you're going to someone's house or you're going to a party or you're going to something, you could bring a plate of a food that you can eat. If you bring a vegetable plate and make your own dressing, and maybe it's all gluten-free dressing, you can go in there and you can nibble on that the whole time you're with everybody, right? What else have I got here? Kind of plan for plans. So if somebody says to you at the party, hey, how come you're not drinking? You can already have a plan of what you're going to say. Well, you know what? I'm not feeling so great today, so I've just decided to not drink. Then at least you're prepared, right? I think I might be coming down with a cold, or I'm not just feeling the best, so I don't want to imbibe tonight, whatever it may be. So that's also a good way. Prepare what you're going to say ahead of time. Number three, if you're attending a party or a gathering, offer to bring foods that you can eat. If they're saying, hey, everybody needs to bring something, then you need to bring something that you can bring. Some of the ideas that I do, I like boiled eggs. If you get good quality eggs and you make boiled eggs, you can always snack on those. I like to use things like this. I get these on Amazon. These are 100% pastured beef sticks, right? I always make sure I've got beef sticks in my fridge, always. And sometimes in the morning, if I have a client that's early client or whatever, I just eat a few of these. And what I will also do is maybe have a little bit of kefir with it. And I like to always show people this, if you don't want to make your own kefir, which I do, but now, especially in Southern California at Sprouts and most of our stores, we have organic pastures brand kefir. And this raw kefir here, think of raw. it's even better because you've got all the enzymes. If we make our own kefir and we use a pastured milk, obviously, we can put probiotics, get probiotics going, but we don't really have a lot of enzymes. A raw milk, you're going to have a lot more enzymes and probiotics. This has at least a minimum of 78 strains of probiotics. So if you're buying a probiotic in the store, most of the time you're seeing 8, 10, 12 strains. Now, they're going to say the units are billions, but how many strains? So really with raw kefir, you're getting the most strains. This one is a funky color because it's called golden. It's got ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon. There's no sweetener, but this is really good. And if your kids would want it or your grandkids, you could actually put a little bit of stevia with this, right? And you could put maybe some fruit, and then they'll have that as a treat. So this is a great thing I would have in the mornings. And say I've got to run, I'm going to be eating my beef sticks. I know there's nothing added to these. There's no sugar. So much of the bacon and so much of the beef jerky out there, people don't realize. First of all, it's not pastured. So a lot of that is factory farmed animal meat, which we're trying to avoid. And then secondly, they add brown sugar and they add soy. People don't know that beef jerkies all mostly have soy and sugar. So this is, it's sugar-free, it's soy-free. It's just pasture-finished beef jerky. Now, if you want turkey, they also have turkey. These are great tips. And your boiled eggs is another good source. Now, something I like to do over these months, and especially if I know from Halloween all the way to January 1st, we've just got high sugar foods everywhere. Some of the other things you can do, I always keep bone broth going. So bone broth would be, I'm a Weston A. Price chapter leader. I'm always looking for the most nutrient dense foods that you can ever put in your body. So if you're going to cheat with, let's say, some sugar-based foods, like you're going to have candy or some sort of sugar, you can at least be doing other things that are going to bring your sugar levels down. So I'm going to put the WestonAPrice.org website here so that you guys, can go there. So WestonAPrice.org is going to talk about mostly nutrient-dense foods. Weston A. Price was a dentist in the 1930s who traveled the entire world via boat. There was no planes yet. And he traveled to many tribal peoples. He also went to places like village people in Switzerland. I mean, he went to people of the world and he studied what they ate. And he was a dentist and he loved looking at the teeth. And these people had teeth like piano keys. That's what he said. What are they eating? And he was bringing back samples of their food. And he was actually one of the first doctors and first people to understand that there was something in these foods that was special. And he called it X. He just called it this thing. He had to name it. He didn't know what it was. We now know that that's K2, right? So he actually knew that there was something in these foods that was giving them really strong bones, and they were having wide faces, their structure, their teeth were beautiful. What was in their foods, right? What were they getting that the real civilized world wasn't getting? So he kind of found out also that even unknowingly, missionaries that were going into lands were bringing with them so much of civilization types food. So they were bringing with them like condensed milk. What's condensed milk? It's milk canned, but they've added sugar and they've added things to this. Well, if people have never seen this, they're going to love all the sugar. And so the places that Weston A. Price traveled that had already been exposed to a lot of civilization type foods, jams, a lot of the sugar items, maybe even alcohol, their teeth and their bones started to suffer. But when he was finding tribal people and when he was going to places that really hadn't been exposed to a lot of that, which in the 1930s and 20s and 40s, there was still a lot of people on the earth like that. He was just finding the bone structures. Women were having babies, not having to have C-sections. Their bone structure was solid. So, today we have children that are just growing up with braces. I mean, we don't even think about it. Our kids just need braces. But what he was discovering in those days, because of the food and because of the nutrients in the food, the density of the nutrients in the food, that these people were born with a wide mouth, with wide, we have these narrow palates now. And we have children growing up on sugar and really nutrient deficient foods, right? So this website here, WestonAPrice.org, you really want to go there. It's all, it's all volunteer. I'm a volunteer chapter leader. Nobody's making money. We want to get the word out of what he has, his works. And so many doctors that believe in nutrient dense foods, ancestral diets, and traditional food diets are also listed on the WestonAPrice.org website. And I think it's really valuable to go there. There's so much valuable information there. So I was talking briefly about bone broth. Also on their site, they tell you how to make bone broth, right? how to make nutrient-dense bone broth, how to make bone broth high in gelatin, etc. So that's a really valuable place to go. And as I was saying, through these, especially now, we're going to get a storm this week. I'm making bone broth, and I love my bone broth. And if I'm doing things all day, I can put my bone broth, nice and warm into a mug. I can put it into maybe a thermos, and I can sip on that all day. And so high in amino acids, gelatin, collagen, it's just such a valuable food. We know that people can actually exist on bone broth alone, should that ever, happen where they're deprived of other foods. So highly valuable food, highly nutrient dense, going to make you feel better, going to bring some of that blood sugar down, right? So, okay, so I'm going to go back to my website. The name of my Facebook page, should you want to be on my Facebook page, is NutriFunction Nether Springs, and I'm going to be actually posting this on that site. If you want to come to my Paris School District nutrition classes, I do have a Facebook page for particularly people that are coming to those classes. We list on that Facebook page, I always tell you what classes are coming up and what we're going to be covering. And on Facebook, it's all in caps. And this is come on now, Wendy. Sorry, folks. So this is the one that you're going to find on Facebook, and I'll just pull it up here, even on my own phone, so that I can show you guys what it looks like here. So here it is on my phone. You can see, let me see if I can position it right. Advanced Nutrition Class Group, right? And if you want to go on there, you'll get all the up-to-date information on the classes. And the next class, I think, is December 6th. So we're going to also be covering some of these types of foods. We're always wanting to talk about what nutrient-dense foods are. Okay, I am an ADAPT certified health coach. I also can work with people with their goals, whatever your goals are. Maybe you just want to change your diet. Maybe you just don't know what you're doing. You just don't feel right. You're starting to have health problems, right? So I would also tell you that I do that work, and I can do it via the computer. I can do this just what I'm doing with you. We can talk if you're in Pennsylvania over the computer, because we have apps now. It's so wonderful. And I have package prices of where I can work with you with your diet, etc. My website that you can always get me on, and I've got also the class listings on there and this YouTube channel on there, and my Facebook and my Instagram is also on there, is just nethersprings.com. So anyway, that's not what I want. All right, where am I here? Trying to get back to myself. Anyway, okay, so big thing about if you blow it over the holidays and you blow it with sugar and you blow it in your life, don't stop doing the things you do. This is what happens to a lot of people. They stop going, to appointments maybe they have with nutritional people to help them, like their colonic appointment, their nutrition appointment. They kind of just fall by the wayside. So don't do it. Stick with your plans, okay? Holiday tips. So this is what I just want to go over real quick. I'm going to get into this a little bit more in depth. So here's a big thing. Most of the people today that I'm talking with have really decided that fiber was a thing of the past. We don't need to really do fiber anymore, right? Or the secondary thing they do is they go to any store, especially health food stores, and they have a packaged product that says so many grams of fiber. So fiber really matters for our gut. It really matters for our blood sugar levels even. So I just want to encourage everybody, stay away from grain-based fiber. So if it's breakfast cereal showing you how much fiber, if it's crackers and bread showing you how much fiber, always remember wheat, corn, soy, grains, rice, all of them are high glucose. They bring your blood sugar up, right? So these are the types of fiber that we really want to avoid when we want to bring down blood sugar, and especially when we want to be low carb. So when I talk to people as a colon therapist about doing fiber, people say, I get lots of fiber. And they start telling me these things. And it's organic, it's non-GMO. Okay, listen, flour and water makes glue. And I'm a colon therapist, right? So in the old days, in the 50s and 60s, we used to make wallpaper glue with flour and water, right? You might say, well, mine's whole wheat. Mine's not white flour. Well, we're splitting hairs here. Basically, still you're dealing with a grain. You're still dealing with the same issue. And it's very sticky in the colon, very sticky, not the fiber we're looking at. So I'm going to show you here the fiber that I recommend to all my clients in a minute. But I want to give you the 5 benefits of fiber that you probably don't know about. And you need to know these things, especially when you're going through, seasons of eating a lot of sugar. And you might think sugar doesn't really affect you. Well, it does. And if you have high PMS, and if you've got menopausal symptoms too, either or, or perimenopause, and you're eating a lot of sugar, you're going to have a lot of symptoms. You're going to have hot flashes if you're later in life. If you're earlier in life, you're going to have a lot of PMS. You're not going to feel good. You're going to have a lot of cramping. So how does the fiber really benefit you? Number one, the right kind of fiber feeds your gut bacteria. Gut bacteria need a fuel source. Fiber is a fuel source. Now, don't just say, I take my probiotics every day. You take your probiotics every day, whatever you're taking. And if you're taking that on a processed food diet, they have no, your probiotics and your reseeding of the bowel really has nothing to grow on. You really need fiber, right? Number one, fiber is super valuable because your gut bacteria converts fiber into a fuel source that helps feed the colon cells so that they can regenerate. I mean, it is so valuable. It's low in calories. Fiber swells up in there, makes you feel more full. You're not going to have this high, once you start eating a few carbs, you want more, you want more, you want more. Think of your grandkids, think of your children. I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Why? They're living on carbs. They're living on high glucose, right? The big concept of a keto diet is this. Okay, let me give it to you in an illustration. If you're making let's say you're going camping and you're making a fire. When you put all the little kindling on, that's to start the fire, right? Okay, so we put lots of kindling on, then we get that fire going. Then what do we add? We add medium-sized pieces of wood so we can get that fire going stronger, right? And then once we get that fire going, we want to put heavier pieces or logs on there so that the fire burns a long time. We could take that to its extreme and say, I like using coals. Coals go forever, right? Especially in a barbecue. So here's the idea, that kindling, that very first little bit of wood you put on there to get that fire going, that's like eating carbs all day. But what do you have to do with kindling? You have to keep adding more of this quick burning wood so that you can keep it going. You're constantly adding more wood because it's burning up fast. Well, let's say we put the medium. We just put that medium wood on. That'll help it go. Well, you still got to add some wood. That's going to probably be more like some protein. You're eating protein with your carbs, right? When you start adding that big pieces of wood, that is fat. And high quality, good quality meat that contains saturated fat is your friend, not your enemy. You're not going to gain weight on it. Your brain needs fat. We're 64% fat in our brains. We also need fat in our body. And what is the best blessing about fat? Now, protein also is satiating, which means it helps us feel full. But the biggest thing that helps us feel full is fat. So saturated fat in meat. High quality, good fat. Let's say you're using a lot of coconut oil. I like to show everybody my MCT oil. MCT oil is awesome. And also just coconut oil in its full form with a full long chain fatty acids. MCT oil does not have a long chain fatty acids in it like lauric acid. It's caprylic. So, but either or, MCT oil and coconut oil, full coconut oil, highly valuable, high good fat for the body. So the big thing about eating protein and eating good fats, it's going to make you feel full. And then in between, not on a full stomach, we want to take fiber. So I said fiber helps feed your gut bacteria, number one. If you're taking all the probiotics in the world and you're not eating good fiber or you're eating a processed food diet, you're not going to get that reseeding of that gut. And that's what we need. Yes, prebiotics do matter, but you still can't feed that gut bacteria without having fiber in. And yeah, food, steamed vegetables, I really recommend at first, and lots of bone broth can be helpful. But again, the fiber is the queen. It's the queen of all of this. So that's number one, feed your gut bacteria. You need to take it. Number two, fiber helps control your appetite and overeating. Why? It swells up. It helps you feel full. It slows down stomach emptying and transit time. So you need fiber to slow it down, right? I will say to people who have never done good fiber before, when you first start, you might feel a little bloated. That's to be expected. Stay with it, right? So also fiber, contributes to appetite reduction. Fiber also helps stimulate the receptors in your intestine to release a chemical called CCK, which is cholestyrocokin. It helps promote fullness and satiety, thus helping to reduce overeating and cravings. So it really helps your liver. It helps your bile production as well. So number three, Fiber, heart disease, and diabetes, the trinity. By slowing down the rate of which your sugar and glucose is absorbed from your food, eating fiber helps lower your average insulin and glucose levels. Highly valuable. When I got my coaching certification, one of our professors was saying, well, fiber is just not so needed anymore. He's a young guy. He's a medical, a functional doctor. And that's fine. They don't think it's needed anymore. I don't know how they get past these benefits of fiber because they're irreplaceable, right? So you can lower your insulin and glucose levels. If you have heart issues, if you've got possibilities of stroke, all of these things, right? So you're going to normalize and you're going to help your sugar levels by preventing the spikes and the drops. What we would want to do all day is keep our blood sugar levels as stable as we can, right? So this is really, really important stuff. Let's see here what I'm trying to find. All right, so okay, so fiber consumption also has a lowering effect on triglycerides. So triglycerides, if they're really high, you want to look at your liver because a lot of the times high triglycerides can also show a fatty liver. So here's what you really want to do. Your fiber, taking the right kind of fiber will lower your triglycerides, which is absolutely wonderful. Stable levels of insulin, glucose, and triglycerides helps reduce the risk of a number of diseases, including diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. Wow, right? I mean, that's huge. Research has also shown that fiber can have a blood pressure lowering effect. So even your blood pressure. I mean, what's not to like here about fiber? Number 4, fiber supports intestinal, liver, and gallbladder health by stimulating bile production. Bile is a very important compound for aiding the absorption of fat and fat-soluble vitamins. As a colon therapist, I tell everybody bile is highly important to help you poop. If your liver is super congested and you're not producing bile, you're not going to have very many bowel movements. So this is also a very important subject because fiber is going to help you have bowel movements, and it's also going to increase your bile levels. And if you don't have a gallbladder, all the more, right? So fiber is super valuable. Bile serves also as a toxin binder, a magnet to pull the toxins out of the intestines. How valuable is that, right? Fiber has a cleansing property that helps stimulate or it helps eliminate waste and toxins from the bowel. As a colon therapist, I cannot say enough about the right kind of fiber. Even if people don't want to take it regularly, I have them take it 3 days before an appointment with me because I know it's going to stimulate a lot of bowel movement. Your colon is 5 feet long, 4.5 to 5 feet long. And really, you want to be taking fiber because it's going to push through the small intestine, which is 23 feet. It's going to get through that ileocecal valve and into that corner of the bowel, and it's going to start pushing through. It's going to start pushing all of that waste forward from the cecum all the way around that bowel, and you're going to start having some bowel movements, and it's going to really help you. So what do I recommend for my fiber? I'm going to show you guys first off the top. I highly recommend psyllium husks. Now, this Yerba Prima brand is pretty great. Psyllium husk powder is pretty inexpensive. I think this is $10 or $12 at the most health food stores. This one is organic and it's non-GMO. Okay. Now I prefer this one because it is it's the husks put into powder form. There's other forms that are the whole husk. They might be a little bit irritating for the bowel for people, but the ground powder is more like sand on the seashore. This is more of a dense, heavier powder, and I prefer that. If you cannot do psyllium, I recommend slippery elm powder. You can buy slippery elm on Amazon, organic. You can buy it. Usually health food stores have them in capsules, and I like to get my slippery elm in powder form, and I like it to get it organic. And it turns into a bit of a pudding. I like to put that in a little bit of water. If you can't do the psyllium, you can put 2 teaspoons in water, stir it, and drink that. That will also expand. And it has a gut healing effect as well, slippery elm does. If you like to do them both, a lot of my clients like to put psyllium husk along with a teaspoon of the slippery elm, and it makes for a good bowel movement. Now, what do I add with this? I like to add in my drink liquid bentonite, right? So here's the same brand name, Yerba Prima, and they have liquid bentonite, and it says on their detox. Now, what does liquid bentonite do? I want to say a note about this. There's going to be a big warning on here for lead. It comes out of the ground. So I just want to say, if you're eating a lot of spinach, it comes out of the ground. It's got lead in it. We have to understand that They warn us with these scary things, but really it comes from the ground. It's natural. Okay. So it's similar to charcoal in the sense that it can bind to things. It can create a magnet for the toxins, and then it can bind them and pull them out, right? So antimycotics are things. These are antimycotics. You're gonna pull things out of the body. We need help to move the toxins out of the body, and that's why we're using these two. I do recommend that you would not use powdered bentonite. If you happen to say, I have bentonite clay at home, I'll just use that. Because of the density of bentonite clay and because of how long it takes the body and the intestinal tract to convert it to a liquid form, plus it uses a lot of your intestinal liquids, I really prefer taking it in liquid form already, okay? More valuable. The body doesn't have to make the conversion. You can use it immediately right away. So I put these two things together in a bit of water. You get a shaker bottle, you know, you're going to put this much water. You're going to put couple teaspoons maybe of your psyllium, maybe add a teaspoon of slippery elm. You're going to add, now if you tend to be constipated, you only want a half a teaspoon of the liquid bentonite. If you tend to have loose stools, you can go upwards of a tablespoon, right? It's going to solidify those stools. Now, I always recommend a little bit. Even if you tend to be constipated, I recommend a little bit because we want the antimycotic magnet effect of pulling the toxins out of the body with it, right? Now, what I like to do with that drink mix is I love to add liquid antifungals or antimicrobials because it has this added effect. With the fiber and the liquid bentonite, you're going to pull the lining hopefully off the gut. Over time, you're going to create this pulling the stool out as well. Why not add a natural antifungal or antimicrobial to that? That's going to give you some extra advantage of maybe killing off some candida or bugs, right? So you can start with coconut oil or MCT oil. Now, this is all by Perfect Supplements, which is a brand that I love and I do recommend. Now, this is the Perfect Supplements landing page here. That's going to show you all the products. But what I'm going to do, if you go to Nutrifunction Nether Springs on, it's my Facebook page. I'm going to put all the links for everything on there. You're going to get the link for MCT oil. This is a big 30-ounce size. You're also going to get the link for hydrolyzed collagen and a lot of the other products I like through Perfect Supplements. The really big one that I love from them is their magnesium citrate. Should you be a little bit constipated, magnesium citrate powder, we can use a half a teaspoon, maybe twice a day till we get those bowels really starting to open up. So anyway, you guys wanted to bring up this idea of the fiber. As you go through seasonal foods, cakes, cookies, baked goods, sugars, the various things that we encounter. And I would say for your children can use these same products that I'm saying. There's no damage, there's no detrimental effect. Just use less of it for a child. And it's going to help them to have bowel movements. It's going to help them to feel better. It's going to help them not to feel hungry all the time. And as we said, with all these benefits of fiber, who should not do fiber? The only thing as a colon therapist over time, now I got to make this sort of different. I'm not an MD. If you need to go ask your doctor this, that is fine. But diverticulosis is pouching. 1 in 2 people by the age of 40 have pouching in their bowel. And so what tends to happen is matter, fecal matter, gets stuck in these pouches, right? And so over time, if you're eating a processed diet, maybe drinking a lot of alcohol or whatever it may be, you're going to have problems with stuff getting stuck in your pockets. So diverticulosis is the pouches. Diverticulitis is when those pouches get inflamed and they maybe get infected. And now you go to the doctor and they put you on antibiotics to try and clear up the diverticulitis, inflamed pouches. When they tell you that, they will say, don't eat fiber, right? So it's tricky. If you are in an inflamed condition in your bowel pouches and you have diverticulitis, you're inflamed, you're seeing some little bit of blood and you're on antibiotics, do not do this fiber, right? You want to do it when you can do it with the pouches. You can do it with diverticulosis. Having pouches, 1 in 2 people have pouches. This is a way of keeping those pouches clean and moving. So I do use it. But again, there is some contraindications and you might want to check with your doctor. So anyway, I want to say one other holiday tip. I got a few holiday tips here. I just want to say really fast to everybody here to avoid a hangover. So what I really tell my people is I love a product. I don't sell it. You have to get it from Dr. Carolyn Dean's website, and it's called Remag. I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going the wrong way. There we are. So Remag by Dr. Carolyn Dean. She wrote the book called The Magnesium Miracle. That's the best book in the world. You need to order it on Amazon. Anyway, Remag is the best, pretty much the best magnesium out there. I mean, It's your availability without giving you diarrhea is through the roof. Like if we want to take magnesium citrate, as I just mentioned, to help you have a bowel movement, that's one way of taking magnesium to help you to have movements. But Remag is going to give you digestibility. What I love about it is if you have SIBO or SIFO in the small intestine, it can actually even kill candida and bad bugs, and you can even absorb this if you have leaky gut and you've got gut conditions. I will warn you that when you first start small. 1 drip is fine, right? And work your way up. You can get to a couple tablespoons a day. This has been a miracle for me the last 5 years. It has radically changed my life. I recommend it to everyone. If you have a hangover, what I do if I'm going to have a drink or two, I'm going to take some of this before I go to bed at night. And I'm also going to take it first thing in the morning. I'm going to usually add electrolytes or salt to it. Now, salt can be Himalayan salt. It can be a Celtic sea salt. It can be even the Redmond salt. So you're going to add about a half a teaspoon of salt along with your Remag, right? Every time you take it. Because remember, adrenal gland sufferers, we need vitamin C, magnesium, and salt to encourage our adrenal glands to give them some food. If you look on your fingertips at the old school testing for adrenal gland dysfunction we used to do back in the old days was to look for a lot of wrinkling on the tops of the fingers, like you've been in a bathtub and everything gets looking like raisins. Well, if you have that all the time and first thing in the morning, we really need hydration and we need to help those adrenal glands, right? So Remag, as I say, it's $29.99 for the smaller bottle. I think this bigger one is a little bit more. I try to get it on sale whenever she has it on sale. It's on Amazon and it's also on her website, right? You just do a search for Remag and you will find it. So that's number one for the hangover. Number two, take vitamin C, a high quality non-GMO vitamin C. Make sure it's non-GMO. Those little emergency packets and things, those are all GMO vitamin C. They're basically an ascorbic acid that's derived from GMO beets and corn. We really want to avoid that. Anyway, so you could take upwards of maybe 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour to 2 hours along with your Remag. The third thing I would say is your B vitamins. So I prefer and love my liver. So I do liverwurst and it's full of the B's and the iron and I would eat some of that. You also can buy your B vitamins. Just look for the highest quality B vitamins that you can find. Some people will say 200 milligrams of cysteine. You can look that up every hour while you're drinking. People have their views of alcohol. And one of the things I do agree with, number one, it wipes out your magnesium. Number two, it's going to give you a sense that your body's kind of dehydrated and your liver's got to break it down. Okay. Sugar and alcohol both deplete magnesium, not just alcohol. Sugar does too. So remember that. You're going to be eating sugar. You need more magnesium. Again, I want to go back to Remag, right? Go to my page here right below here, NutriFunction Nether Springs. You also can go to my website, which is nethersprings.com. And I've got a lot of this info there. I'm always going to be bringing it up. Okay, so a common symptom after drinking alcohol is to fall asleep immediately, but to wake up all night. You're going to wake up 3-4 hours later because your blood sugar is going to drop. So what I would do is take the magnesium after I've had some drinks, and then I'm going to take this fiber mix because it's going to be an antimycotic. It's going to bind to the toxins from drinking the alcohol, et cetera. It's going to make you feel full, and it's going to keep your blood sugars back up, right? Because those blood sugars are going to drop after drinking, and you're going to be like, yeah, from 2 or 3 in the morning, I'm up all night, right? That's the blood sugar levels, one of the things. So supplement with magnesium. Transdermal magnesium is great. I tell everybody, I have a recipe. I'll post it again on my Facebook page and other places of how to make your own magnesium creams. It's very easy to make. You can also find those that are sold online as well, and you can find magnesium creams made by others. Dr. Carolyn Dean sells one, I think, Ancestral, what is it called? Ancestral Magnesium. They have their own type of creams. Just watch out for the fillers and make sure they don't have a lot of fillers in them. But if you can't take a lot of magnesium by mouth, you can do Epsom salt baths. You can do the creams, right? Get that magnesium up. You're going to feel better. You're going to lose some of the panicky feeling after drinking and all that, the mental stuff that comes with it. Avoid NutraSweet and Splenda. I would even suggest to people avoid erythritol or xylitol and some of the sugar alcohols. For a lot of people, it does a lot of damage. It makes the stomach really feeling. What do I do? I'll tell you guys what I do. Should I eat something or get something that that I know has not sat well with me. Maybe I've been glutened. Maybe I ate something that I just feel like I know I got something. I'm usually going to pretty quickly go to my food enzymes. I use a brand by Dr. Peter Osborne, and his name is right here. And he makes a gluten-free, basically it's called Gluten Shield. And it's an enzyme and digestive enzyme and other enzyme conglomeration that helps you if you've really affected your gut. And I use that liberally if I'm feeling that. I also, should I feel like I've eaten something, maybe at a Christmas party that I know that I didn't sit well, my fiber drink. I'm going to do that fiber drink. I just told you guys about the fiber. It's going to absorb it, the liquid bentonite, the fiber. It's going to pull it through the system. It's going to move it through you quickly rather than that sitting in there, right? Bring the blood sugar levels down. Always remember that. Okay, increase your fiber intake if you're eating sugary or starchy foods. It's going to slow down the absorption of calories as well. Here's another thing. A lot of heavy drinkers don't want to lose their buzz. So they don't eat and they don't do anything because they want to keep the buzz going. Well, when you do fiber, you will lose some of the buzz, which is going to bring your blood sugars down as well. So, you really got to look at this. Heavy drinkers do what we call the squirts. They don't even have normal bowel movements because they don't eat food. They're drinking alcohol all the time. They always have watery, slimy stool. So you really need fiber. I can't say that enough. Okay, what else did I put here? Alcohol. The worst alcohol you can drink is beer. Beer is made from genetically modified grains. It is loaded. It's high in carbs. It's got wheat, corn, soy, high in mycotoxins. What is alcohol in general? Alcohol is mycotoxins. So you're giving yourself a fungal effect with it, but please stay away at least from beer, right? It's got gluten. It's got everything. It's just a problem. Some of the other alcohols also can have gluten, right? So you want to be careful. What I put here, clear alcohols like vodka made from potatoes or grapes, right? Not vodka made from grains. Gin with soda and a twist, excuse me. What else did I put? A dash or a squeeze of citrus, a Bloody Mary, a martini, or a dry wine. There's so many keto wines out there now that don't have any sugar in them. You can get some of those. So if you're going to drink, I would suggest that. I think I've kind of covered everything. One of the things I did want to show as well is colloidal silver. And should you feel that you're coming down with something, the fastest thing I use right away is silver. Dr. Carolyn Dean, again, has a pico silver. I make my own colloidal silver. I have for years, but hers is the smallest. Colloidal is bigger. Nano is smaller. Pico is tiny, tiny. You can't see with human eye silver, and it's able to get through the cells. So I do suggest that. What else have I got here? I think that's it. You guys, I hope you have a fantastic holiday season. Again, if you're feeling bad after some of the things that you have done, you can always reach me at my website. You can always make a consultation or a coaching appointment with me. I hope you will. Always avoid, the one big thing I want to also quickly say that I made a note with here, I wanted to say is avoid, even if you have sugar, try to avoid the combination of sugar with high fructose corn syrup. Really try to avoid corn syrup. It is problematic. It's genetically modified. The fructose that's in corn syrup is really badly handled by the liver. Sugar's bad enough, but corn syrup is super detrimental. So many people with fatty livers, so many children with fatty livers because of corn syrup. So really pay attention to that. You buy ice cream, a lot of the ice creams have corn syrup and sugar. I mean, at least get something like Strauss Family Farm ice cream that just it has cream, it has milk. I think it's got organic cane sugar, but there's nothing else added. I think maybe an egg yolk, something like that. Very simple, right? Anyway, I got to run, you guys. Thank you so much again for coming to my YouTube channel and for watching. And I'm going to post this today. And I hope you all have a great holiday season and all the best. And we'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.